Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. My name is Tami Gomez. I am your host. I am your favorite life coach and manifesting mentor. That's what I do. I just want to thank all of the followers, all the supporters, because without you, this podcast wouldn't be possible. This was a fluke. And I'm just excited to be able to share so many amazing people with you through different interviews and things like that. So wherever you're listening from, whether you're on a walk, driving in the car, in the kitchen, making dinner, wherever you're at, thank you guys so much for being here and sharing some of your precious time with me. And I've got a special guest today that I'm super stoked. It's taken a minute to actually get her on the podcast. For whatever reason, divine timing and everything, it was meant to happen today and not prior. But I've got Jess Wallen here with us today. She's a digital marketing. She is your, by the way, digital marketing bestie. She ditched this 9-to-5 life and learned how to leave the grind behind. So Jess, welcome to the
Yeah,
podcast.
thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be
I'm
here.
excited
Get to
too.
talk all things money, mindset, manifestation. Oh, I'm so excited.
Me too. So share with everybody a little bit about about where you are right now in your life, like what you're experiencing, and then take us back in time a little bit as to how you arrived at this place.
Yeah. And it's crazy because when I share my story, I don't think people are going to be like, that's the dream life or anything. But like to me, everything is just happening. Like I couldn't have planned it better, but in the craziest way. So I got laid off in March of last year. I kind of got sucked into the corporate 9-to-5 life. I knew I wanted to help people in some capacity, like my whole life, but I had no idea what. And then I found life coaching in 2019, was doing that on the side, but was also doing my corporate job. And then we went back into the office during COVID. And so I just kind of put my dreams and everything to the side. And then I got laid off in March. And I was just like, I was so burnt out and stressed out when that happened. And it was such beautiful timing because I had all these things coming up in April that I had time off for. And I had all these trips coming up in the summer that I wasn't sure if I had enough time off for. So I was like, this is perfect. And it obviously was so scary, but I was like, God, this is my time to where I either go back to the corporate life and find just another 9-to-5 life, or I really figure out like what I want to do. And I just felt that deep in my soul. I was like, this is my time to find something new. And actually, so this last summer, my brother made the PGA tour. He's a professional golfer. So crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the Canadian PGA tour. So I would have never been able to do all these things. I would have never been able to go to one of my best friend's wedding, to travel with my brother, to just take time to be with my family. I grew up in Washington State and I moved to San Diego 15 years ago. So I've missed out on 15 years with my family. And I was just, now that I'm in my 30s, I'm realizing what's important to me, and being with my family. Like I craved like those family barbecues and family dinner and all that. So I just spent the whole summer with my family and it was incredible. I caddied for my brother a little bit. Like it was just like all this happened for a reason. And then I was like, okay, well, I do need to make some money, And
Yeah.
I had all these job opportunities with I used to be in commercial real estate. So I had a lot of my brokers asking me to work for them. And I had a job opportunity come up and I was like, crap, like I can't turn this down. Like this is an incredible opportunity. And then Tami, when I tell you, I was laying in bed like every single night, just like wide awake, like this does not feel right in my, like, there was just something in me that was like, this does not feel right. Like, I can't even sleep because I know if I go back to this 9-to-5, it's just going to take me back to the same place that I've been trying to escape for so long.
Yep.
So I last minute was just like, I felt sick to my stomach, but I was like, I can't do it. And I felt so bad because I had been talking to the guys forever. We had such a good relationship, but I was like, I can't keep living my life like based on what other people want me to do. And having that conversation with my dad and telling him, because he was so excited about this real estate opportunity, they literally wanted me to open up an office in San Diego. Like it was huge. And I was just like, Dad, I can't explain to you what I'm doing. I'm going back into my coaching because he knew I wanted to do coaching. And I was like, I really want to help people like find their purpose. And obviously my dad's old school. So he's like, what do you mean? Yeah. He's like, what do you mean find your purpose and all that stuff? So I was just like, I don't know what it is right now, but I'm going to figure it out. And so I started my digital marketing business in October. I had seen people online making money, but also in a way where it was like, you can do anything online right now. You can build a business and help people with whatever you're passionate about and whatever you want to do. So that's why I was like, oh, I want to go into digital marketing because I want to teach people how to build businesses around whatever they're passionate about. Like you can create an ebook on anything. If you've had an incredible experience, you can create a guide or a course or a template or whatever. So that's what I'm doing now is helping people kind of figure out what they want to do through and digital marketing always scares people, but it literally just means like promoting something online. So I'm helping people promote themselves and their story and help people through whatever avenue they want to take. So that's where I'm at right now, but it's kind of crazy because I started in October and then I came home in December for Christmas and I woke up on Christmas with the worst pain I've ever had in my right arm. Like I'm talking like couldn't even move my arm. And it was so weird. It was so random. And I went to the doctor and they were like, you have this neurological disorder. And I tell you, like, I couldn't even move my arm at all. Like I couldn't travel back to San Diego. I couldn't do anything. So my mom was taking care of me and all this stuff. And I was still trying to focus on my business, but it was super hard. And then during that time, I got diagnosed with that neurological disorder and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how I'm going to make money. I don't know how I'm going to move forward, basically. And I knew I had to go back to San Diego, pay my super expensive rent. Like, it
Oh,
is
yeah.
so expensive there. It's insane. And one of my friends from San Diego texted me and he said, hey, would you want to rent your place to me for 3 months? Like, out of the blue, Tami. And I've been doing your manifestation. I'm so happy and grateful now that money flows to me with ease. That is my number one. Like that's just the one that sticks to me is I'm so happy and grateful now that money flows to me with ease. So I've been saying that every single day and he texted me. He's like, I would love to rent your place. He's like, what's your rent? Tell me what your rent is and I'll pay you more. And
Wow.
so right now I'm in Washington because I couldn't go back to San Diego and he's paying my rent for me. So it's not like money showed up to me in cash form, but that's $6,000 that he is covering for me, which is so huge. And also in my head I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself until March to really, really figure this out and to make money. And so to be able to be here with my family and taking care of my family as well. My mom just had shoulder surgery last week. It's like I would have never had this time to take care of her, take care of her surgery, all of that, if I wouldn't have like done all of this and taken a chance on myself. I would not be able to be here for my grandma's 90 years old. I'm at her house right now. I took her to her hair appointment this morning. It's like
Oh,
these moments of being able to be here for my family, but also build my business at the same time. It's just, and help people. Like, I just help people every day. I'm like, what do you love? What do you like? What are you passionate about? Let's build a business around that. Like, what a dream come true. So that's where I'm at right now is I'm in Washington renting my place out in San Diego. Luckily, my arm has settled down and we're still trying to figure out like where it came from and stuff. It's super weird. You know where it came from actually is shingles because I was so stressed out from my 9 to 5.
I knew it.
My thoracic nerve, I had shingles on my back. And they said that when I had COVID in November, it reignited it. And so, but it's like my 9 to 5 was literally stressing me out that much that I had shingles that caused this neurological disorder. Now I'm like, we're not going back there. We're not going back to that 9 to 5 life.
No kidding. That's what an incredible story. And there's a lot of lessons to be learned there, especially for people that are tuning in, is that when you're following the norm, so to speak. And I love that your dad, you know, you're talking about your dad and he's like, oh yeah, he's old school. What do you mean helping somebody find their purpose? Like, that's bullshit, woo shit. Like,
Yeah.
come on, Jess, like, go climb the corporate ladder and go earn the success and all the things, right? And that's what we've all grown up with. And it still is prevalent in our lives, right?
Mhm.
In everybody's lives right now. The freaking smart ones are these millennials, like the kids now, like the 15, 16-year-olds all the way up until their early 20s. They've got this shit figured out because they're the rebels, right? They're the like, no, we can create content on TikTok and social media and we can make millions of, like, look at Mr. Beast, like what he's done on YouTube, right? And how many people he's helping from that point. Everything is now non-traditional ways of doing things. And what people don't understand and what they don't realize is that most of the things that they're experiencing in their life that they don't like, which is health problems or issues that rise or whatever it is coming from a place that they're doing the things that they aren't here to do. And they're doing those things because they're chasing the money and the success and all the things that they think come with that. But there is a huge trade-off when it comes to that. And the trade-off is usually your health, your mental well-being, all of those things, right? And you at some point you have to stop and say, is it worth it? And is there another way where I can do what I'm meant to do, what lights me up every day, what makes me happy? Can I just follow that happiness and see where it leads without worrying about how it's going to pass, right? So I was reading through your messages that you had sent me on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And you had sent me one in January, and you said, I've manifested over $1,000 in my brand new business, 4,000 in rent at the time, and 5 free flights. And I was like, holy shit, that's awesome. You said it's unreal, and I got laid off last year. Unemployment ran out in December, and I couldn't sleep at night thinking about how I was going to pay for life. Just feels like a clean slate and a fresh start on such a different outlook on life and money. And that's when I said, what a story. That's all I needed to hear. What a
Yeah.
story. I'd love to have you on my podcast. Let me know if you're up for it. And you said, I'd freaking love that. Right. And then you started sending me like pictures. You're like, look what I wrote on my flight today. And you shared this with me before the podcast, and you circled it. It says, get asked to be on a podcast. That was 7 weeks ago, right? That you
Okay.
sent that to me. And I'm like, this is how we create the life that we want from a place of anything is possible. So
Mhm.
when you're working with people in your business and you're instilling that in them and you're encouraging them to find that thing that they love, and then you are so fucking amazing because you have this unlimited possibility mindset of whatever it is, we can build a business around it. And I work with a lot of clients who are passionate about some things or trying to play in that energy of what they are passionate about. And then they get stuck in the mindset of, I don't know how I could even make a business out of this. I don't know, like, how could I do that? And I'm thinking, oh my God, there's a freaking gazillion ways to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that. Now, do I have the tools and the resources to be able to guide them as to what that might be? Well, maybe. I mean, you're on my podcast, so maybe this
Yeah.
is a step, right, for some of my clients that are going to be listening to this, and can get connected with you. But they're like, I had a conversation yesterday with a client, and I won't mention her name because I don't have, authorization to do so. But just hypothetically, so to speak, she's a full-time nurse, been working in the nursing industry for 30 something years. And I said, well, what do you want to, she's like, I'm burnout. I hate it. And I said, God, you've been doing this for so long. She's like, yeah, my mom, I'm taking care of her, and she's elderly and all the stuff. And I said, yeah, because I could tell you're exhausted all the
Yeah.
time. Like, it's wearing on you physically and mentally, right? And I said, so what do you want to do? She's like, well, I want to elevate my career to the next level, but then I'd have to go back to school and I'd have to get my
Yeah.
master's degree and my doctorate. And I said, hold on a minute. Is that the only option? Like, is that it option wise for your life? And she was like, well, no. And I said, well, what do you love? And so we started talking about her dogs, and we started talking. And I said, the weird thing is I just got an email from this email list that I follow called The Hustle. and they were talking about how the dog industry, the pet sitting industry, luxury pet hotels
Yeah.
are like $1 billion business, right? And she's like, she's got a half an acre of land or 3/4 of an acre of land in Florida. And she's got this beautiful home and she's got these 3 little dogs. And so we started having this conversation. She's like, I would absolutely love, and she lives like 20 minutes from Disney World. So like it's a tourist thing. Like people are coming in RVs and motorhomes and staying and wanting to go to Disney, and they've got their pets and their kids and all the fucking things. And they're like, and Disney offers, ironically enough, a pet sitting service, right? So you can leave your pet there at Disney while you're doing the thing, but they're in crates and they charge out the ass,
I was
right? To
gonna say
keep them for the
price
day.
it a little below and you got a business, baby.
That's right. And she was like her mind was blown that quick. And so now she's going down, she's following that now. She's like, and everything has switched in like 24 hours in her mindset. She's like, you're not going to believe all of the amazing things that have been, all of the, like, no traffic when she has her 2-hour drive to work, like none.
Yep.
Like she just zips to work. She gets there early. She's like, some old man walked by me today and just smiled and winked at me. She's like, and it made my day. Like all of these things are starting to be attracted to her. Right. So I guess my point to that whole fucking long drawn out story is that when you can get in the mindset of anything is possible and you start to reprogram your subconscious mind to that fact, that things begin to automatically become attracted to you. And the challenge for someone like me and someone like you is literally convincing people of that. Like,
I
I'm not in
know.
the convincing business,
Me either.
but the way I convince people is I just keep showing up and just keep saying and doing experiments and proving it to you. Like you did one of my experiments, right? Money flows to me with.
I've done every single one and every single one has worked. There has not been one where I'm like, no, that didn't work. It's like you have to be open to receiving though, and you have to be open to the possibility because I think a lot of people are so strict and like, well, am I going to win the lottery or is the money going to come in cash form? It's like, no, your sense of awareness is going to open up so many things for you. The second that you open your mind, it's like I like the balloon experiment. It's so funny. I was reading the comments on your thing. It's like, my husband didn't even see the balloon because he wasn't aware of the balloon, you know? And it's like, and once you're aware of like how things always work out for you and they always come to you, that's what I want to tell people is like, just be open to other possibilities and other ways of life because we have been told that we need to do it this way and go to school and get a 9 to 5. And it's like, well, no, life is too short. Do you know what the chances of you being alive are? It's like 472 trillion. You are not going to spend it in a cubicle in fight or flight mode for the rest of your life if that is making you sick and you don't get to spend time with your kids and you don't get to like nurture your relationships. Like I don't want to say what's the point of life, but that's how I was starting to feel. I would sit in my cubicle every day being like, what Tammy, there's got to be more to life than this. It's just like I felt sick because I'm like, I'm only here for a short period of time. Like I know that and I'm so grateful to be here, but I'm not put on this earth to pay bills. I'm put on this earth for something bigger. And I know that. And I know everybody else probably feels that in some way or another. And if you love your 9 to 5 though, I love that for you. Like if you love your corporate job, I see nothing wrong with that. You know, because there are jobs that people absolutely love and I'm like, that's amazing. That's your path. But if that is like if you feel like you're meant for more, you are meant for more. Sorry, that was a tangent.
No, I love that. You're absolutely right. And when the part of that stuck out the most for me was when you said you did the balloon experiment and then you went back and you were reading the comments and you said the lady said her husband didn't even see the balloon because he wasn't aware of it. How many times in life does that happen when an opportunity will show up right in front of your face and you don't even see it because you are so got the blinders on to life has to be this way and this way only.
Yep.
You're so close-minded to the fact that anything else would be a possibility that you miss it all.
Yeah.
So like how many times is that? And this is why it was so important to have you on the podcast, because I want people to understand and to know that there are opportunities for you right now to change your fucking life.
Yeah.
And you are the one that gets to decide in that moment if you want to play in that energy or not, if you want to give it a shot, if you want to at least take that next right step, which is reach out to Jess and say, hey, what the fuck is this? I heard you on the podcast. What the fuck is it that you really do? Right? Like, you can help me follow my passion and create a business, but what does that entail? Right? Okay. So some people are going to do that. Some people are just going to be, I'm curious and I just want to know what else is out there for me, because what you're saying resonates with me, that like some people aren't even aware they're miserable until you point out the fact that they're miserable.
Yeah.
Like some people
Totally.
aren't even aware of it, right? They just think that this is how it's supposed to be. This is
Yeah.
normal. And
That
so
was
they become
easy.
very acclimated to it, right? And it becomes a natural thing for them. Um, and so I think that's why it's important for you and I, especially, to give this message that life, man, I remember a time, Jess, when I was in the middle of my living room floor on my hands and knees, just praying to God and saying, is this all there is to life? Like, is this fucking it? Is it supposed to be about struggle? Is it supposed to be about suffering? Is it supposed to be about just working a job and paying your bills and coming home and that's it? Like, is that it?
Yeah.
And in that moment, it was like a shot of lightning. And it was like, no, the meaning of life for you is to experience everything that I have created for you to experience, everything that you desire to experience. And you're not. And I'm like, so I got to open my eyes. Like, I've got to use my imagination, use my creativity to figure out what it is that I want to do. And I don't have to be stuck here. I don't have to be doing. So that started, so that started everything. But I had to get to that point where I
Yeah.
was fucking miserable. And I don't want people to have to get to that point where they're miserable, right? Like you did, like I did. People can learn from our experiences and choose and know that they have a different option and a different path. So you
Yeah.
had mentioned earlier, before we jumped on the podcast, that you were blind at
Mhm.
right. So
Yeah.
I want you to walk us, because listen, you've had some shit go down in your life. Right? And
Yeah.
I want people to understand that they're not alone in their shit. Like,
Yeah.
hello, we were in the shit too, right? So
Yeah.
share that story with me if you would.
Yeah, and one thing I just want people to know, like, life is 50-50. Like, it's always gonna be 50% good and 50% bad. So it's like when something bad is happening, I'm like, okay, I know the good is gonna come after this. Like, I'm not living like a only positive life right now. Like, I'm going through shit too, but my perspective and my awareness is so different, and the way I receive things is different. But sorry, that was off tangent. But yeah, so I was born with a cataract in my left eye, and nobody would do surgery on it because it was congenital. So I couldn't find a doctor. Nobody would help me, but I was 100% blind. If the sun was out, couldn't see in my left eye. But since I was born with it, it was just like, this is what I'm used to. Like, it didn't even really occur to me until I was in my late 20s. Like, shit, I can't see. like, I can't see you over there. Like, it was is such a weird experience when I was in my later 20s in San Diego, and it's so sunny there, and a lot of my anxiety came up through that. Like, I realized a lot of my anxiety was rooted in like not really being able to see. And then in 2012 I studied abroad in Thailand, and of course I contracted like this super rare bacterial infection in my eye the day. Tammy, this is also why I believe in like source or higher power, God. My infection flared up the night before I was flying home. And when your infection flares up, you have 24 hours before you like can get to a doctor or you pass away. I made it in 26 hours to Seattle. 26 hours from the time that it flared up. I was on bed rest for 3 months. My mom had to take off all her time off work, had to take care of me, completely blind because I was already blind in my left eye. So, and I had my cornea transplant in my right eye, or my corneal infection in my right eye. So I was 100% blind for 3 months, and my mom had to take care of me. So it's just like, but The crazy thing about that is when I look back on the situation, I met my best friend on our trip in Thailand when we were studying abroad. We moved to San Diego together. She met her partner or her ex-partner and had her beautiful daughter with him. It's like we would have never met. She would have never moved to San Diego. She would have never had her daughter had we not gone on this Thailand experience and had this, trip. So it's just like I can look at almost every single situation in my life where something bad has happened and been like, yeah, but if that wouldn't have happened, then this wouldn't have happened. Does that does that
Yep.
even make sense?
A million percent. It's the contrast serves the purpose, right?
Yeah,
So, in order for us to be grateful for anything in our life, we have to have an awareness that there is shit, right? There's a direct
exactly.
opposite of it. And I love that when you said, and God, this is my philosophy on everything, that when you said, when I've experienced the shit, like I got shit going on, I know that around the corner is good.
Always.
Right? That okay, so what you're really doing in that moment, which is what I teach my clients to do, is you're celebrating the losses because it's temporary. You're celebrating the negative because it's temporary. And we're also celebrating the wins or celebrating the positive stuff because it's temporary too. Like everything is fucking temporary.
Everything.
Everything, right? So we've got to be so in that. Listen, how grateful are you that you can fucking see?
I I think that's why I like the little things in life, like being with my family, being able to see all of that. As I get older, I realize how grateful I am for every little thing. Like every little thing in my life. I'm like, I get to spend time with my grandma this morning. She's pointing out all these cherry blossom trees that I would have never noticed. It's just like those very little things in life where I'm just like, somebody might look at me and be like, she's 32 years old, living at home with her mom in her hometown, blah, 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 and I'm like, no, this is incredible. Like, I love every second of this because not only did I miss 15 years with them, like, at one point or another, I wasn't able to see. Wait, I have something just triggered in me. This is also so crazy. So, my corporate 9 to 5, my real estate job was in this building and I couldn't find a surgeon for my cataract. Remember, I told you I couldn't find anybody who would do surgery. And for whatever reason, one day at work, at my corporate job, my coworker, who was kind of like my dad figure, he was like my best buddy. He was like, there's an eye doctor upstairs. Why don't I just call and see if they do cataract surgery? And I was like, okay. He calls up. He's like, hey, do you guys do congenital cataract surgery? They're like, yeah, we have the number one complications specialist in California. Like, that's our surgeon here. I went upstairs. This was right before COVID. So I went upstairs, met with him. He's like, easy, nothing. I'll do it. I'll do it. He said, we'll do it in 2 months. Then COVID hit, so I had to wait a year. But right after that year, he did my cataract surgery like it was nothing, like a piece of cake. So if I wouldn't have, I, and when I got this corporate job, I got it because I had gotten broken up with and I had gone to my roommate's birthday dinner instead of going to my boyfriend's birthday dinner. And I was really stressed out about my old job. And I met somebody and he was like, hey, my job is hiring. Why don't you come work for me? And I was like, yeah, I would love to do that. So that's how I found my job. And then at my 9 to 5 is when I found my surgeon. It's like every little thing in my life has happened for a reason. And I look back on everything and I'm just like, that's why I have the philosophy that everything is always working out for me now. Because I would have never, if I wouldn't have gone through that breakup, I wouldn't have gone to that birthday dinner. Then I would have never got my new job. Then I would have never been in that building and found that surgeon. It's like, I don't know. When you look back on your life, you can probably think of, if you are alive right now and breathing, you can think of how something you've been through has led you to something better. Just
Wow. Yes. That okay, so I just fucking I love this conversation right now. So
that was a lot. Sorry. I was like,
no, I love
and
it.
then this happened, but it's just like every single thing goes back to something else that necessarily at the time wasn't ideal. It wasn't beautiful.
Right. And then we define things like your job as well, this is what I'm supposed to do. We'll go back to the old programming of this is what I'm supposed to do. Like mom and dad are going to be proud. I'm doing the fucking thing. I'm making the money. I'm working for corporate America, right? When the only fucking purpose of you getting that job was to take care of your eye issue. That
Exactly.
was the only purpose of that job. It was
Exactly.
never for you to climb the corporate ladder. It was never for you to stay in that career. It was for one purpose and one purpose only, which was because it's there are no coincidences. It's all synchronicities, right? But for those that are skeptic, it's too much of a coincidence that the number one surgeon is in the fucking building. And how old were you at that time?
I was 30, so I had been living with it for 30 years.
And how long had you been searching for someone to say that they would do it for you?
30 years.
Fuck. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah. Isn't that so crazy?
It
So
was
crazy.
meant to be that way. And you just kept following the yes from a place of, I don't want to go here. I'd rather go to this party. That was coming from the heart and the intuition. I need to go here. And then you met this guy and he's like, we're hiring. And you're saying yes to that, thinking
It's
that it's for another reason and it really isn't. And you say yes to that. And then you have a conversation with this man that you met that's like a father figure to you. Okay, that was synchronicity. And then he says, hey, the guy upstairs. And you're like, yes to that. And then you do that. And then the next thing that comes around is you're like, you know what? I've got this feeling, this sickness in my stomach that I'm not supposed to be here. Because why? Because it's been taken care of. It has been,
exactly.
that chapter has been completed. And now it's time for you to move from that place and follow your heart again and your intuition and do the thing that you love, which is what? Spending time with my family, being back in Washington, right? Doing my own business thing, helping others follow their purpose, the la 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 la,
Yeah.
right?
But even
Fucking
on
crazy
even
shit.
yeah, even on top of all of that though, I don't know, and I hate saying this, but I don't know if I would have had the guts or the resources to leave my 9 to 5 because my limiting beliefs were so strong if I had not gotten laid off. Like I had to get laid off to be like this is my outcome. And so what I want to tell people now is like you can work your 9 to 5 while building a business on the side. You don't have to wait until I was in fight or flight for, I want to say 32 years. Like I was in fight or flight. And so it took such a big drastic thing to make me like, well, it pushed me to do something else. But you don't
Yes.
have to wait until you get to that point. You don't have to wait till you have the big breakup or the getting laid off. Like you can literally decide today, oh, I'm going to reach out to Jess, or oh, I'm going to Google ways to make money online, or oh, I'm going to do this. You can literally start today. You do not have to go back to your 4 year. And you know what's also crazy is during this time that I got laid off, I thought I was considering going back to school to be a therapist. And I had applied to a grad school, the only grad school that I wanted to go into in San Diego, and I got denied. And me and my therapist had been working on my application, my letters so strongly, and I got denied to that. And I was like, wow, I've never gotten denied to a school because I was like pretty good student. I was like, oh, I've never gotten denied. And I was like, this has got to be for a reason. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, wait, if I would have gotten accepted into grad school, I would be going into more debt because I'm in debt right now for my university. I would be going into more debt. I would have had to work the real estate job to pay for my life. I would be doing two things that would have pushed me further in the direction that I don't want to go. And so it's just like that rejection was redirection for me for sure. Like that
Yeah.
rejection letter was just like, no, 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 no. The universe was like, we're not letting you go into debt. We are not letting you do not need to go back to a 4 year or 5 year school to figure out what you want to do. I paid less than $500 for my course that I now like use to help people build their business. I paid less than $500 for it and I started in one day.
That's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
So
So that was a lot.
Oh, and now and it needs to be a lot, right? Because there's a lot of information here that people need to hear. The reason why you got laid off from that job is because the purpose of the job was complete and you were too fucking hard-headed to leave yourself.
Yep.
You didn't follow your intuition and your instinct of I'm fucking miserable here. I want something else. I don't want to do this anymore. But you stayed. A lot of that is feeling like a guilty conscience of what are other people going to think or what is my father going to think about it, and right, so I just need to be the good girl and just keep following the patterns. And God, source creator, is like, dude, the purpose of that job is now complete. Get the fuck out. You're not going to leave? Okay, you're going to be hard-headed. You think you know better than I do of what I have in store for you based off of what you deep down desire? Like, when we so I'm going to go back a little bit to explain this to everybody. If we want to label God as God, that's fine. You're in a safe place with me. I don't give a fuck what you want to label it. I call it God, source, creator, universe. I just encompass the whole thing. It doesn't understand language. So you could pray all day long and it's not going to answer your prayers just because you're asking for something. What it understands is the frequency and the vibration of what you're saying the things with, because its communication is frequency and vibration. That's how everything in the universe has been created, from that place. So when you're going through something like you went through and you are setting off the frequency and the vibration inside of you from your thoughts that are like, I don't like this anymore and I desire this instead. Noticing the contrast, I know what I don't like. I would rather have this. And now you're in this resistance phase, right? Where we're kind of having a fight, internal fight in our brains of, I want this, but no, I want this, but no. God is literally, whatever is the strongest desire for you, whether that to be to stay or to go, God's like, I'm answering that for you. And I'm going to put people, places, events, and circumstances in your life to make that shit happen. So because you were too hard-headed and didn't want to leave, God's like, I'm going to move mountains for you. I'm going to put thoughts in your boss's head. I'm going to make sure that the company doesn't need you anymore. Like, I'm going to move people, places, events, and circumstances to get you out of there. I'm going to throw bricks at your head.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have a choice now, because you've told me what you wanted and you're fighting against the exact thing that you're asking for. And I'm trying to bring it to you and you're fighting me on it. So now I'm going to kick your ass out. I'm going to get you laid off from that job. You're going to go, what the fuck is going on? And you're going to have to go internal and go deeper and figure out what the fuck it is that you want to do with the rest of your life.
Yep.
And so here we are.
And so here we are. Yeah. And it's just those like limiting beliefs. And I feel like majority of my life, and I just didn't know what I didn't know. So majority of my life, I had the thoughts of everybody else around me and like the beliefs and the values of everybody around me. My money mindset was based on my parents, who have a severe lack mindset. Like, my dad's a business owner and he does like physical, he's a carpet cleaner. So he does like physical business, but it was always like, we don't have enough money. We're struggling, you know? And so I've never had a conversation about money with either my mom or my dad in my entire life. So I didn't know anything about money besides like, there's not enough of it. There's never enough. And then the thoughts about myself came from everybody around me. I had some pretty bad boyfriends in San Diego. It's so crazy. I moved from like a small town where I had all these like cute, healthy relationships. And then I moved to San Diego and it was just really toxic. And I've had people say, like, why would he want to be with you? You're not skinny enough. You don't have a good enough job. And so guess what I did for my whole 20s? I internalized that and made like their beliefs about me and what everybody else thought the beliefs about myself. So I think it's hard when you, especially if you're older, like if you're 40, you've been carrying around these beliefs and these thoughts and values of everybody else around you. So it wasn't until I started questioning every single thing, like, am I Catholic? Because I grew up Catholic. No, I don't.
Me too.
I don't align with the Catholic Church, and that's not against anybody who's Catholic or anything. Just me personally, I had like a spiritual awakening where it was like, no, that's what my dad believes. That's what my family believes, and that is totally okay. And I love them and I support them, and I'll even go to church with them if that's important to my dad, I will go, but that's not what I believe anymore. And then all the thoughts about myself, and so I can imagine if you're 30 or 40 and you're just questioning everything around you and all these beliefs you have about yourself, like where did they come from? Did they come from you or did they come from somebody else? And like that's when my life really changed, was when I found life coaching in 2019, and I realized my thoughts create everything. Like my thoughts about myself create my reality. They create how I feel, how I act, everything. But a lot of my thoughts about myself were from other people. So it's just like, God, I don't even know what you were talking about before. Sorry, I just
No, I was talking about how God was going to find a way to push you out, like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah. Yeah.
because you
And it's
wouldn't
like,
do it yourself.
yes, and I wasn't going to do it myself because I didn't have the right beliefs about it, I
And you
didn't
said, I didn't know what I didn't know.
I
Like,
didn't know.
how could you leave something like that when all you know is what you know,
Exactly.
right? And so God's like, okay, well, I'm going to push you out then, and you're going to learn other things through that process, right? So,
Yep.
and I think that's why life coaching is so important, and manifestors are so important, mentors, is because we get to open people's minds, and they get, sorry, I get downloads in the middle of shit.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, when I'm like deer caught in the headlights, it's because I'm getting all this shit coming in. Um, our job is important because we help people understand and see things from a different perspective, so that they cannot be stuck in the I only know what I know mentality. We need to enlighten people as to what's
Mhm.
possible. And if we don't speak up, and if we don't, like my mentor tells me, she's amazing. I'm going to mention her in the podcast because she deserves a shout out. But her name is Mindy Sarton. She's a fucking badass rebel money activator. Like she's just, that's her niche, right? That's her thing.
Mhm.
But she's so motivating, and I resonate with her so much because she is a badass. Like she doesn't give a fuck, right? She's going to do what she wants to do. And ironically, she lives near San Diego. So in that general vicinity, yeah, she's down in that area. And just moved there. And her story is incredible as well. But this is what changed everything for me when she said, Tami, you have people assigned to your life, and they're not assigned to anybody else. They're assigned to yours, and you're here to help them. And if you don't show up, sit your ass in the chair and say what you need to fucking say to those who need to hear it, those people are going to kill themselves. Like we are losing people left and right because your ass is too afraid to show up and just say what you need to say transparently, honestly. If you want to fucking cuss, you cuss. However you want to express yourself, do it from that place. And I was like, wait. I'm like, you're giving me permission to just be me and just open my mouth and just let the shit come out. Whatever conversation I want to have, it doesn't need to be scripted. It doesn't need to be written out. It doesn't need to be. And she's like, just fucking say it. Like, and I'm, oh, like that was like the fucking heavens opened up for me, right? I was like,
Yep.
holy shit. And that moment when I decided to go on social media and start posting videos and creating content. Before that, it was very hidden.
Mhm.
Before that, it was private stuff, right? Private clients, private whatever. But then it was like, there's a whole another audience out there. And what really got me is she said, people are assigned to your life and they're looking for you and they can't find you
Yep.
because you're not showing up. And I'm like, fuck. So helping people understand that, yes, you may only know what you know right now, but your job is to evolve and grow. And that is a journey of evolution over a lifetime. There's nowhere to get to.
Yep.
There's nothing that there is to get done. Like all you're here to do is to be who you are, which is the creator of your life. That's what you're here to do. Now go create the life that you want. Like go educate yourself, hire a life coach, work with Jess, work with Tami, find somebody else. I don't give a fuck who it is.
Same.
But for you and for me and for us as humanity, it's necessary because I've always said this. Since I was a little girl, I'm an Aquarius, which would resonate with a lot of people. Like, okay. So since I was a little girl, all I wanted was for the world to be full of rainbows and butterflies.
Mhm.
I just wanted people to be happy. I just wanted people to be happy. And so I experienced the contrast with my parents fighting over money, fighting because my dad was an alcoholic, fighting because my mom was born in the Depression and raised in the Depression, was a control freak and a hoarder and trying to control everything because she had that whole sense of insecurity of, I don't know what's going to happen. She really had a huge need for certainty in her life. My
Mhm.
dad was like, fly by the seat of your pants. He fucking went out drinking whenever he wanted and all the shit. And then they come home and they fight. And I was just like, I can't. Like, I was so traumatized by that because I couldn't understand. Why
Yep.
can't we just be happy? Like, what's the big deal? Like, can't we just fucking get along, right? And so through that whole process, and I did the same thing just like you did. I chased the money, and ironically enough, your brother's on the Canadian tour, right?
Mm.
Ironically enough, I spent 12 years on the professional golf tour in the 80s and the 90s. Yep, yep,
Shut up, Tammy.
yep, yep.
Are
And
you kidding?
no, 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 no. I did it for 12 years. And
I had no
they,
idea.
yeah, in the 80s and the 90s. And I was doing it for the money because I
Yep.
witnessed the contrast when I was a kid. We didn't have money, much like your
Right.
parents, right? We didn't have enough, never had enough. Thrift shop clothes, fucking all the things. And the crazy thing that here's how the contrast served the purpose was that because I grew up in that environment, my dad got really sick with a rare disease called scleroderma. And back then it was super rare. They gave him 6 months to live. They said, if it reaches your heart, you're dead, right? And so he couldn't do anything. She had to be his full-time caregiver because his skin just got hard. All of his joints like froze up on him. Every joint froze up, and his skin was hard like leather, and so if he bumped it, he'd get gangrene in it. She'd have to do pigskin grafts on him, like the whole thing. She had to work. He couldn't work, obviously. So he was collecting some kind of a disability that a lawsuit, blah, 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 blah. Mom went to work and got a job at a country club, a local country club in Northern California, where I grew up. And she managed condominiums for 32 condo owners in an association. And she was the manager of that complex. And these were some rich fucking people. Let me tell you this. Rich. I mean, Rolls Royces pulling in, Ferraris, all the things. And so during the summertime, I would go out with my mom to work during the day. And so I was experiencing wealth by day, and I got to be friends with some of the wealthy parents' kids, right? And that's how I got introduced to golf, by the way, because it was at a country club.
Same.
And, yeah, crazy, right? And it's so fucking crazy how our
Yeah.
realities parallel each other. And then I was going home to poverty at night. And so the contrast was huge,
Yeah.
drastic contrast. And I looked at those two situations and I was like, I was so mad at my parents for so long. I was like, you don't fucking love me enough to create that for me. Like, what is the difference between us and them? Like, I couldn't understand it because I was so young. And I was like, that's it. I'm going after that. I don't want the struggle. I'm fucking going after the money. And I had this God-given ability to be able to play sports, and whatever sport I wanted to play, I could play. And my first love was softball, but you couldn't make money playing softball, and I wanted to be wealthy and famous and all the fucking things that I didn't get to experience as a kid. And golf was the thing. It was either golf or tennis that you could be a professional at.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, they're fucking both like rich nerd kid sports. Like back in the 70s, right? They're both rich kid nerd sports. And I wasn't a fucking nerd. So I was like, well, fuck, whatever. I guess golf. Like, I guess we'll do that. Right. And I just happened to be like really, really, really good at it. Like, like quickly. And everybody's like, she's a phenom and you got to get her lessons. And the pro at the country club is like, I'll teach her for free. She's that good and she has that much potential. I'm going to teach her for free. And then I went on and I won all the stuff, but I was miserable. I fucking hated it. Every second of it. Like, I can't say every second. There were times the travel was fun, meeting people was fun. I've got some really cool, funny memories about it. But it wasn't what I was here to do. It wasn't my purpose in life, right? And I was just chasing the money and the fame. And finally, I just got so fed up with it that I just said, I quit. I quit. And I could tell you there's probably been a handful of times since then. I could probably sit here and count the times where I've picked up a golf club and went out and either played or went out and hit some balls or something, like,
Wow.
since the '80s, right? And the '90s. Um, it's because it's just not there, right? And so I was always searching from that point, but how it served the purpose, like your corporate job served the purpose to get the eye thing taken care of, right? Because it got me into mindset. Like, what makes people do the things they do? Why was I chasing the money? What was that driving force? And because I was a professional athlete, I knew a lot about the mind and how it affected me as a competitor, and why there wasn't the same person at the top every week, right? Why there's always, because everybody's different each week. The mindset, it's the mind. It's 90% mental and literally 10% ability. I literally had the physical ability like a Tiger Woods. It was that much of a phenom type of thing, but I
Damn.
didn't have the mindset. I didn't
Mhm.
have his mindset, right? Because I wasn't doing it because I loved it, because I was doing it because I was fucking chasing the fame and the money. So I was never successful at it the way I should have been given the ability. But it led me to mindset, and
Yep.
it led me into getting certified as a mental skills training specialist and going down that road. And like you, I was like, should I be a therapist? And I'm like, I don't want to fucking do that. Like, I just wanted to do my own thing. And so that, fast forward to now, that's why I'm here now. But it was all because of that shit experience and childhood experiences that led me to that point. So thank God I woke up quick enough to have it be on my terms that I quit, instead of something happening and God kicking my ass out like he did with you, right? And some people need to learn the hard way, and some people are like, fuck this, I don't give a shit, I'm out.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the whole point of this whole story and our stories, on the podcast today, is that in every moment, babe, we get to decide. Every moment we get to decide. Nobody, like, people can influence our decisions, but at the end of the day, we're the ones that get to choose. And if we're choosing anything other than what lights us up, it's always going to be a struggle. Not that it's wrong, but we're going to get our ass handed to us.
And if money was the solution to all of our problems, like if money was the end all be all, that is what will make you happy, every single rich person would be the happiest person you know. Every single Do you know how many wealthy people I know that are absolutely miserable?
Yep.
Like they're not living their purpose. They're not aware of all the things that they should be grateful for. They don't have the right mindset. Like your mindset is literally everything. It controls your entire life. And once you realize like there is more, if you feel like you are meant for more, you are meant for more.
Yep.
And money is not the end all be all. Money is not the reason we are put on this earth. Money is a vessel for more time, more freedom, and I'm not saying you have to like quit your job, because obviously a lot of people have to like pay for their families and we have to pay our bills and all that. That's just the way of life. But if you know that you have like a deep desire to help people do something else, or you can use your experience, I guarantee every single person listening to this experience or this podcast, they have been through something that will help somebody else if they put themselves out there.
1,000,000%. A
So
million percent.
like your experience and what you've been through is going to resonate with so many other people, and but you have to put yourself out there, and that's the scariest part, is like actually being seen and being heard, like because there's going to be people who are going to be so negative about it, but there's always more people who are positive. And I even started like my life coaching, like when was that, 2019? So crazy. I knew I wanted more in 2013 when I first moved to San Diego. I started an Instagram. It was kind of like a health and wellness Instagram. And then I started getting in my head about like what everyone else was going to think about it, and I stopped. And then I restarted in 2019, and there was a lot of haters, but there was not even a lot of haters. There was probably like one or two, but to me that was a lot,
Yeah.
like you're always going to hear the one negative voice over the hundreds of people that are like, you're helping me so much. Like you're always going to hear that negative voice. But if it's one or two people who are like crabby and whatever, fine, let them go be crabby. Help all the other people who desperately need you in their life. I just want people to know, like, you don't need to quit your job, but you can start chasing your dreams today. And whatever you want to help people with, you can do that. But you don't know what you don't know.
You're right. And, we live on an economic planet and we must have money. And,
Right.
but the purpose of money isn't just to pay your bills and just to get by. Like the money is an energetic exchange for experiences. The experience of being able to pay your bills, the experience of, going on vacation, the experience of buying the new car, whatever it is. It's just an energetic exchange is all it is. But we have so much attachment to the meaning of money that it actually begins to define who we are. Like
Mhm.
the more I have, obviously, then the more deserving I am, or the better person I am, whatever the fucking stories that you tell yourself surrounding it. Um, but money, listen, so if we go back to the purpose of your life is to experience all that this life has to offer. You cannot do that without money.
Right.
You've limited yourself, right? Is if you want to experience taking 50 courses, you need the money to be able to pay for those 50 courses so that you can expand and grow yourself, right? If you want to go on vacation, you need money for that. Everything requires money.
Yeah.
It's just, uh, and I don't want people to chase the money because money is the byproduct of who you are. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. The money, the cars, all the materialistic things that can expand so that you could express yourself fully by experiencing all that life has to offer. All of those things will come as a byproduct of who you're being. And when you're living your truth and following your joy and you're happy all the time, and I'm happy and I'm happy. And yes, I see the shit. And yes, I have shit sandwich days, but I celebrate that because I know they're temporary. And I'm going to really embrace and show gratitude for the wins because they're temporary as well. And I'm going to keep in the moment of neutrality, making decisions of, do I want to stay in the shit or do I want to go towards what lights me up? And if you can follow as much as you possibly can, the things that light you up, the things that make you happy, all of the other things that you want, your hopes and dreams, will come as a result of you following your bliss and following your happiness and following your joy and putting the middle finger up to anybody else that you're triggering that says that's wrong. Because that's all it is. You are literally, you got to stand solid in who you fucking are, because you're going to trigger people and you're going to be the reminder to them that you are willing to do the shit to make you happy and they are not. And they don't like it when you're putting it in their face. And so now they've got to say something negative, and that negativity is loud. So we, as coaches, have to be fucking louder, which is
And not
probably why I talk loud, because I'm like, hello, can you fucking see me over here? Like, hello. You know what I mean? Like, fucking pay attention.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah. And
life-changing shit.
not only are we going against what other people think and the fear of them, we are going against our own brain. Our brain is designed to protect us from fear, from the unknown, from doing anything that is different. So every single day, like, I want to tell people, like, you starting your business is not going to change your life in one day. It is going to be a gradual process, and it is going to be the greatest personal development journey you've ever been on, because every single day I have to work on my money mindset, because that is a belief. Those are beliefs that I've had my entire life. So if I have a no sales day, I'm like, God, what's wrong with me? Like, what am I doing wrong? And I'm like, no, 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 no. No. Money, like, that which I am seeking is also seeking me. Like, everything that I desire is out there for me. And if I have one bad day, it does not mean that I should quit and give up and move on with my life and go back to a 9 to 5. You are battling your brain and all these thoughts that you've had your entire life. So I think a lot of people start their business and they don't see results, or they don't see their life completely transform immediately. And it's like, no, it's going to be a process. Like, give yourself grace. You are unlearning and learning so many new things. Like, you are unlearning everything, and your brain is going to fight you on every single thing and be like, nope, Jess, we should not be doing this. Like, why are we helping people instead of making money at a safe, stable corporate job with a 401k and health
Oh, God.
insurance? Like, why are you not grabbing onto that 401k and that health insurance and living this like kind of up and down? Because with your own business, nothing's ever linear, is it? Like, it's like a really, really good day and then a no sales day. And then, it's just up and down, but you have to be willing to go through those $0 days, to go through those days where your mindset isn't where you want it, or isn't super positive, I guess, isn't, because those old beliefs are going to come up, those old thoughts, and I just want people to know, like, if you have a bad week, it does not mean that you should give up. It does not mean that something has gone wrong. It means you're actually going in a beautiful direction, and you're learning and you're growing. And so that's like my biggest thing is I don't want to give off unrealistic expectations. I want to tell people this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. It's also going to be the greatest and most liberating thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
It's good and bad,
But that's life. Everything in
That's
life
life.
is good and bad. It must be that way. It must be that way. Because you would never have gratitude for anything if it was all rainbows and butterflies all the time. You wouldn't, like, it would be normal to you, right? So you would never even have the thought of being grateful for something that's normal, right? And so,
Exactly.
yeah, so I 100% agree with you on everything that you said. What people have to understand too is that we live in an instant gratification society.
Yep.
Everything is at our fingertips. It doesn't matter if we're hungry. We could go DoorDash something. Like it's everything is easy and simple and right now. If you want to know the answer to something, you can jump on a computer or your fucking phone and you can Google that shit and get the information right away. Microwave up, like everything is instant, right? And so we have a tendency to think in business, it's this crazy conflict going on that I should be doing things the old school way, yet I want to do things the new school way, but I want it to happen now. If
Yep.
I'm going to leave the old school mindset, then I need this shit to happen. I need it to show me proof right now that I'm on the right track, right? And when things get hard, I need to understand that this is growth and evolution over a lifetime. Over a lifetime. If you don't do this thing, what is the alternative? If you don't follow your passion, give this a shot, follow what it is. Number one, what the fuck do you want? What do you want out of life? Like, let's get that clear. What do you want? Everybody's going to say the same thing at the end of the day. I want freedom.
Yep.
Or I just want to be happy. Okay. Is what you're doing right now, do you have those things? Well, no. Okay. If I gave you something that has the potential to create that for you, right, so that you could experience that, if you allowed yourself, God, it's so fucking crazy. If I just allowed myself to be happy right now and just thought of things that made me happy, all of a sudden everything in my life would shift, right? Everything would shift. And then I'd be like, yeah, okay, now I don't have any block to trying something new because I'm already happy and that lights me up and I'm going to follow that. And then that lights me up and I'm going to follow that, right? What is the alternative? Staying where you are, doing what you've been doing, right? Einstein says that's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. But that's what people are doing. They're thinking somehow, some way, something's going to change. But they keep doing the same fucking things over and over again. So we just have to get out of that mindset, and we got to be a little bit of a rebel badass. Like, we've got to be willing to take a risk because, like you said, the brain is only there to protect us from rejection, disappointment, failure, anything that it thinks is threatening me, either mentally or spiritually or physically. It's going to say no to. It's going to say, no, stay safe, no, stay safe, no, stay safe. If we understand that that's the brain's function, if we can just say, you know what, shut the fuck up for a minute. Like, what, instead of saying, what if it doesn't work? What if you fail? What is everybody, you're going to get all these haters, and we go down that road of the negativity, and we're choosing to go down that road. What if we flipped it and said, shut the fuck up for a minute? How about you, because the brain is a supercomputer. It can figure out anything. Trust me when I say you get desperate enough in something, your brain will figure out how to get out of it, right? Okay, so it's a supercomputer. So if I say just shut the fuck up, how about instead of telling me all the reasons why we can't, how about tell me all the reasons why we could? How about saying, what if it does work? What if I am successful? What if I give myself and dedicate myself 12 months with Jess and focus on this thing and following my bliss and being in a good mood when I'm doing it and being hopeful about it and all those things? What if at the end of 12 months, I have this totally different life of all of my desires being fulfilled, and I get to experience everything that I want. What if?
Yeah. And the instant gratification, it's so crazy the way that it's kind of warped what we think, because people are not even willing to work super hard for 6 months to a year to get to those $10,000 months, or to get to the even $5,000, whatever you need to feel comfortable in your life. We're not willing to put in that work, which will save us 30 years or 35 years of working for somebody else, because we're just want that instant gratification of like, this is working. So people give up after 6 months because they're like, this isn't working. I'm like, what if on that seventh month, that's when you had your breakthrough, and then you saved yourself 30 years of going to work for somebody else and not doing what you love? Like, that instant gratification is so crazy to me, the way that it has completely warped like what we're willing to do for our dreams.
Exactly. And the crazy thing is, people will spend 30, 20, 10, 20, 30 years in a job they fucking hate.
Yep.
They'll stay there.
For a
10, 20, 30, another 10 years, 40, another 10 years, 50 years in a fucking job that they hate. But they won't give a possibility of something new 6 months or a year. Like, okay, so you're not going to do this. You're going to stay here for another 10 years. This makes no fucking sense. What if you gave this 10 years instead of this? What could be different? Like, but people, like you said, though, it's that mindset shift of what's possible and what people are willing to do. And you're right. A bamboo fucking plant takes 5 years before it will sprout from the time you plant it. You plant a bamboo seed and you tend to it and you water it and you do all the fucking things every single fucking day, and you don't see any result for 5 years. And once that little thing pops, do you know how fast a bamboo tree grows once it emerges out of the ground? It's like 90 meters in like 30 days. Like, it just goes, it explodes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that bamboo guy that had been watering it and taking care of it and all the things in 4 years and 11 months says, this is some bullshit. I've been doing this thing for almost 5 fucking years and nothing has happened yet. And he walks away, and then Jess comes walking up and says, look at that little sprout right there. I wonder what that is. I better give it some water and tend to, and then you get to reap all of what he has sown, because you are in the right place at the right time with the right mental mindset, and you just happen to stumble upon something amazing because of your mentality, and they lost out because of theirs, right? So there's a lot of lessons to be learned in today's podcast. I will tell you that.
I heard this quote, or I read this quote the other day. It said, somebody is sitting in the shade today because somebody planted a seed years ago. It's like, and I think the hard thing, sorry, I'm keeping you, but people are always going to be in different seasons. And when you're just starting your journey, you're in your planting season. You're in that, like, you're just planting your seeds. You're not going to see the harvest immediately. And the hardest part is seeing other people in their growing in their harvest season when you're in your planting season. Like, you're going to be you're going to be planting your seeds. You're going to be just watering the shit out of them. And you're going to see other people collecting their harvest already. And you're going to be like, what's wrong with me? Well, they just started. You're on different journeys. You are in a different place than them. And you cannot compare where you are to where somebody else is. And just focus on your own journey, because you have no idea what anybody else has been through. You could never imagine every single thing that person has gone through, what their mindset is like. See that as evidence of what is possible, instead of being like, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, your limiting beliefs. So I think it's important to realize like what season you're in and just be grateful for that, because you will see the fruits of your labor eventually, whether it takes a year, 2 years, 10 years even. Like, you will see that. So I just wanted to put that out there.
No, you're right. And the time that it takes for things to manifest is dictated by your own willingness to allow it and what's possible for you. Like, you are the creator. You are the master manifester. It is all on your own timeline. And, when I started this fucking thing on TikTok, like I was doing it because it was fun. I was doing it because my coach said, you need to show up and just say, and there was never any plan other than just saying what I needed to say. I wanted to feel the feelings of liberation and freedom in a
Mhm.
way that I'd never felt before. And I didn't know, I didn't have a plan. There was no business plan. I wasn't going to be like, I'm going to be a fucking life coach on TikTok and this shit's going to blow up and I'm going to have all the things figured out. No, it was never like that. So all I did was follow my bliss each time, create content that lit me up, create content that other people liked. And then it turned into what I have now. And I remember the first 8 months of doing this, somebody said, how much money have you made on workshops and shit that you've created? Like, it all was created from that place. And I'm like, fuck, I don't know. And they're like, you've never looked? And I'm like, no, I'm like, never even crossed my mind to look. I'm like, well, let me check. And I checked my reports. I'm like, holy shit, we're almost 6 figures. They're like, what? And I'm like, holy shit, how did the fucking that happen? But because I wasn't focused on, I've got to make the money, I've got to make the money, I've got to make the money, I was focused on me and following my bliss and helping other people and getting lit up by their results, that everything else just kind of fell into place, right? Because I was getting who I was. I
Yep.
wasn't chasing the money, I was attracting it. I was
That
attracting
law.
all of the circumstances, all of the people, all of the ease. I just decided to fucking let it be easy.
And it always happens that way. When the only times that I've made money in my business is when I'm completely detached, when I have like detached from the outcome and I'm hanging out with my family, doing something I love, on a walk. Like I have never made a sale while I was looking at my phone. I have always made a sale when I was detached from the outcome and having fun and living my life. And then I was like, oh shit, I got a notification. Like, me and my mom were watching a documentary and I had a sale come through. I'm like, holy shit, mom. And then it's just never been when I was attached to the outcome, but it's so hard not to be attached to it sometimes and not attach your worth to it. But there
Yeah.
is so much power in having fun and letting go. It's
I
crazy.
agree. I put an offer out and I put it out and I forgot about it. And I was with my daughter at one of her dance things in Kansas City and we were laying on the hotel room bed and we were just chilling out and whatever. And my phone went off and I checked it and it's like a notification, right? $2,200. I'm like, fucking, and I looked at it, I'm like, holy shit, Jace, we just got paid. She's like, what? I go, yeah, we just had a sale for $2,200. She's like, holy shit, mom, you're rich. Like, and I'm like, I'm laughing, right? But I'm like, you're right. When you are obsessed with the result, that comes from fear.
Mhm.
I'm afraid I'm not going to see anything, so I got to keep checking. I got to get a cheap check. It's almost like when you're dating somebody and you're like, do they like me? I better fucking text them.
Yep.
Like, let
Every
me blow
single
their shit up. Do you like, la, 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 why aren't they responding? Why aren't they responding? Why aren't they, right? And that's such a put off kind of vibe, right? And
graspy
females,
energy.
huh?
I always say like that graspy energy is the worst to be in. You never want to be in graspy energy.
So we know that in relationships, it's just energy, right? So why would we do it in our business? Like,
Exactly.
taking a nap is a money-making opportunity,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
It's taking a nap, going for a walk is a money-making and generating activity because you have the thought, it's in alignment, you take the action, you put it out there, and then you fucking go enjoy your life.
Yep.
And that's a money-making activity. And the shit pours in, just like with your example and with mine. So,
And it's
man,
the
there's so much in this
power.
podcast. I can't believe how much information is in this podcast.
I also just want to add one thing is the power of passive income as well. We're so used to trading our time for money and being like, I need to give this company 2 hours to get this amount of money. You can make passive income by making one thing or coaching or putting out an offer and money will just come in. Like, I don't think people realize the power of passive income and money making and how money can flow to you without trading your blood, sweat, and tears in that effort. Like it can just pour in so many different ways. You could create an ebook once and money will just keep coming in. So
Yeah.
whatever you have to be open to that.
Yes, I wrote a freaking book in two. Somebody said, "Do you have a book?" I said, "No, I can write one." I said, "Okay." So I write one. I publish it on KDP. In 2 weeks, I write it and have it published on Amazon. And today, and that was like a year and a half ago or something like that. It was a while ago, and I've never like promoted it. I've never bought ads for it. I just fucking wrote it and let it go and talked about it, you know, like, hey, I wrote the book and here it is and whatever. And I just got a notification this morning from Amazon. It's like, here's your royalty payment for this month. It'll hit in 4 days. And I'm like, shit, like apparel, like all of these different, I've got 11 different streams of income that were created, not from a place of need, but from a place of desire. And every month, whether it be coming in, like fucking TikTok pays me to create content. Like, I got a notification like TikTok sent you money, and I'm like, for fucking what? Like, what did I do for TikTok to send me money? Like, I don't even know. $1,000 for what? One of my videos went like had a million views or something, and I'm like, holy shit, they fucking pay. Like, I was so oblivious to any of it. Next month, same thing, and I'm like, I am literally doing nothing.
Yeah, and
once one thing, and then it just keeps it's residual.
Yeah, and once you start doing what you love, like the ways of making money, just like there's so many ideas that come to you every day that you're like, oh, I could coach people, I could create an ebook, I could host a seminar or webinar. Like there's so many different things that you can do if you're open to it. So
just follow the things that light you up. Like, I resisted doing this podcast for so long. I finally was like, you know what? I was at the place mentally, a few months down the road. Somebody else mentioned it again. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do a podcast. So I bought the microphone set up off of Amazon. I do it all the thing. Whatever. And I think this episode that you're doing with me is episode number 19 since January. I started it in January, right? So I was doing 2 a week, and then I went to 1 a week. And I'm like, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. And it's on Spotify, and there's tons of followers. We're in 26 countries now listening since January. Fucking crazy shit, right? No expectations. It was just like, do it. Whatever happens, happens. Let the chips fall where they may. And I got an email from a guy who's going to be on the podcast, and that episode will drop next week. But his name is Mike Barron, and the guy is a multi-millionaire. Like He's got 5 Lambos. He's got the house he hangs out with Fat Joe and all these guys. And his assistant sent me an email and said, hey, I represent Mike Barron. He would love to be on your podcast. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why does he want to be on my pod? Like, how did he even find me? Like, I don't even know. Yeah. Here's his deck sheet, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, is this fucking legit? Like, is this legit? Are they gonna like say, I'm gonna say yes, they're gonna say, great, he demands $5,000 to be on your podcast, and it's a scam, right? And I'm like, so I sent it to my assistant, and I said, feel this out for me, right? And sure shit, it's legit. I'm gonna interview him on Monday, and the episode will drop on Wednesday. Anything can happen if you're open to it. Like, who would have thought? Never in a million years. I was just doing it for fun, not for any other reason. I don't know where it's going to go from here, and I really don't want to know.
That's how I feel about my business too. It's like, I am not attached to anything. Like, I will probably transition into combining my life coaching and business coaching, because I know you have to have the mindset for business. But then if I want to write a book, or if I want to host retreats, it's like, I'm so open to where this can go. And I know that no decision is permanent. I can always just adjust accordingly and have fun with it. And that's when things are going to come to me, when you're not tied to the outcome,
You're my kind of girl. So. You're my kind of girl. I love it.
I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you for the amazing conversation today. I know that this podcast alone is going to help so many people change their mindset, at least start to tweak it a little bit. And that's what matters. So people can find you and I'll put all the links in the description of the podcast for everybody, but they can find you at Jess Wallen Official, JessWallen Official. I'll put the links down below on Instagram, and I'll go through, I'll just put all your links to TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, whatever you have. And then also, I want to be able to have people be able to reach out to you either through DMs or maybe even email. So just get me all the information. I'll put it in the podcast. People can do with it what they want. And then we'll just go from there. Sound good?
That sounds so good.
Jess, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. This is so fun. Yeah. I hope this touches one person. Like, if one person just has an aha moment, then our job is done for the day.
It's I think that's the beauty of life, is we don't know. We're just going by the next step. that lights us up, right? Like, let's do the
Exactly.
podcast and see what happens. And then to be able to be a witness to that beauty of the unfolding of whatever happens next is that's so fun. And that's what life is about. Like, let's just
Exactly.
do what we feel we want to do and see what happens. And it's like Christmas morning every day. You just never know. You
Every
just
day.
never know, right?
Every day is Christmas morning for us.
I love it. All right. Well,
Well,
God
thank
bless you, my friend. And everybody, thank you for listening to the podcast. I know we went really long today, but hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of it. If you have any comments, questions, please feel free to comment here on the podcast. There's an area for you guys to leave some feedback. We would love for you to do that. And have an amazing week. I love you guys. Thanks for being here.
Bye.